Hello out there, and welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. Interesting week, folks. I just had a epiphany, I guess, this morning. It's something I've been wanting to talk about, but I guess the topic has never come up, and now's the perfect time. This is all precipitated by a conversation that I had with a gentleman in a production facility a while back, and it was a conversation that sort of, I don't know, it just sort of stuck with me, and I've been struggling with it for a while, trying to, it's one of them things that, gets in your head and then you can't get it out kind of thing. And the conversation was loosely based around dirty, rotten, filthy, stinking, fucking welfare people sucking the life blood out of the country. And it was weird because, generally speaking, anytime I've ever sort of run into these kind of conversations with people and things like that, it's always been from a point of shame, because, and it's not something I ever really talked about with people, and actually it's something that I would just omit in my history, but this time it was different, and it was because I would always hide the fact that I grew up and was born into a welfare family as like a point of shame. Like I had something to do with that, like I was the one that made my old man an alcoholic, and my mother had 4 kids before she had a GED, things like that. And somehow I had let, like when we moved up in social class, ultimately, like I said, my mother did get a GED. She went to college even, and ended up working for the Postal Service, which is a whole other issue. But we moved from that Appalachian poverty-stricken level of existence, and then moved into like a lower middle class type of existence. And when my social spheres changed, it became abundantly clear very quickly that if you were on any kind of government assistance or anything like that, that the only thing that you were allowed to feel about that was some form of shame. So for years I hid this fact from people, when I would talk to them, and they would, we would talk about our parents or, anything like that. It was kind of always hidden. I never elaborated on with people that, by the way, I'm from Hicksville, USA, and I'm a welfare kid. It just doesn't come up in polite conversation kind of thing. So I was having this conversation with this guy. Here I am, 46 years old now, and I've there's never been a day in my life that I didn't work and support myself. And this guy starts on this rant about, these people that are just destroying the country and sucking the life out of it and things like that. And then, and then down deep inside me, I start to feel that shame again. It's like, what the fuck is going on, right? And I got to thinking about this, of course, after the fact, in the moment, I just kind of, the guy and moved on. But, it was one of the things that sort of stuck with me and stuck in my head. And I never really knew how to deal with it. And I guess meditating on it and thinking about it and all that kind of good shit, I got this kind of epiphany that the ironic part about all of this is that, even my own mother, who was on public assistance, was only on it for a short period of time. Okay. And, then she became a tax-paying citizen, a producer for the country in a sense. And over the course of her life, I'm sure that she alone, and just taxes alone, more than paid back any debt or any burden on society that was required by her for us kids. And probably many, many times over, honestly, at least 10, 15 times over. And because, contrary to popular belief, what you get on public assistance is not some lavish ass lifestyle. It's just not. It's not even someone would argue if it's even livable, but it's nothing to be, happy about. That's for damn sure. And then it sort of hit me, I was thinking about how, so putting my mother aside, and again, her repayment of that debt to sort of society, my old man certainly struggled for years with alcoholism and things like that, and was never really able to kind of get his shit together. He was, his life was pretty much, he was either on some broad or drunken on some broad. It was just sort of the way he lived, and prolific sperm donor, really, really, I have a lot of brothers and sisters. I have a sister I've never even actually met. However, so in that particular situation, he was never really able to get his shit together, and he never really repaid that debt. But that didn't mean that society still didn't make an investment here, and the investment was in us kids. Because without exception, every single one of us kids are completely self-supportive. Every one of us pay taxes, enormous amounts, some of us, and with differing degrees of professional success and things like that in life. But we all of us either have some sort of tech school certification or professional certification or college education, and it's turned us all into these revenue machines for taxes for society. And I got to thinking about that. If the tables were turned here and we didn't call this welfare, or if we didn't have this stigma around it, let's say we were looking at this almost, I don't know, from strictly like a monetary standpoint, like a business investment, things like that. We would expect that companies would invest in their people. We just sort of expect that. That's the best companies in the world do it the most, right? And somehow it's gotten fucked up in society. It's gotten turned around in that we don't look at our fellow citizens as being worthy of investing in. When you go to work for a company, not everybody that comes to the company comes from the same background. And in companies, we just okay, that's life. That we accept that as a variance. We accept that there's always going to be some noise in the system, so to speak. But when we look at our fellow citizens and we look in society, we don't give them sort of that same break, consideration at the very least. We think that everybody should be born with a set of bootstraps with which they then pull themselves up by in the greatest country, in the freest country in the world. And I understand that your opportunity here is better than it is in a lot of other places in the world. I get all of that, okay? However, I think we're making a mistake. And I think the mistake, and maybe we're making it not only as a society here in the United States, but maybe we're making this mistake worldwide. And that mistake is that we look at certain people as being unworthy to bother with or to invest in. So if you look at what happened with me and my family, my brothers and sisters, all of us, cousins too, because I come from I come from Appalachia. I come from Hillbilliesville, row faster. I hear banjos, right? That kind of shit. And society, even though we were just a bunch of dumb hicks, decided that we were worthy to invest in. Society decided that we deserved an education. It decided that we deserved food, sustenance. It decided that we deserved at least a modest amount of health care. And by making that investment in us, we've all gone on to prosper, all gone on to earn, up middle class and above, upper middle class, some of us, upper class type incomes that we all pay taxes on. So why should I feel shame about the country investing in me? Why shouldn't I feel proud that they did? And not only did they invest in me, it was a fucking good investment. Right? You got your money back. Right? We're clean, we're even. I'm more than even. Okay? I've paid you back, and I've not stuck my own kids on society. Okay? So this is a weird stigma. And again, I said it was one of the things that kind of sat with me for a while, and it's been bothering me because I'm sick and tired of feeling some form of shame for being somebody that was helped, and then have turned around and have paid that back multiple times over. Myself, all my brothers and sisters, my cousins, all of us came out of a fucked up environment as children. And every one of us has gone on. Some of us are in law enforcement. Okay, we've gone on. A bunch of us have served in the military, veterans, foreign war veterans. But we wouldn't have been there to do that had we not been given that assistance because our parents were train wrecks. So there's this weird thing that's happening, and this is what I think really bothers me. This is why I don't get into politics and shit anymore, because it doesn't actually address core problems or core issues. A core issue here being that we've got to stop looking at each other as liabilities on a balance sheet. There is no liabilities if you're a citizen here, okay? You're not a fucking liability. You're an investable asset. That's what we need to start looking at people as investable assets. Now, not everybody you can't invest in everybody with success, just like you can never invest in anything with 100% success. If you do that, you get investigated by the Securities and Exchange Commission because they understand that's impossible. And it's the same thing with people. Okay? Investing in somebody at some point in life and getting a negative result should not be your compass heading now that every person you interact with or every person you invest in life is going to do nothing but give you a negative result. It wasn't the right investment for you. This happens sometimes. And you got to be okay with that. You got to take the bad. You got to take the chances. It's like people buy lottery tickets because they understand somewhere fundamentally in their head, well, if I don't play, I can't win. Okay, look, the odds are so astronomically against you that you're not going to win anyway. Like I could say you're not going to win the lottery to every person I meet for the rest of my fucking life, and I would be right. You follow me? Like Mega Millions or whatever. That's how bad the odds are. But people will run out and will make that investment. They'll throw $20, they'll throw $10 or $1 away on that chance, but they won't do it for a fellow human being. And that's weird. And like I said, not every investment's right for you. And so if your call or the way you invest in people is to invest in family and nieces and nephews and things like that, then that's it. That's your investment. Then do that. Some people are called to higher things, like some people moving homeless people into their houses and working at soup kitchens and whatever. But at some level, I think all of us have to start valuing each other again and looking at each other as being worthy to invest in. Not just money, okay? Invest time, invest counsel, invest friendship, things like that. We have to start looking at people as being worthy of investing in, especially those that come from poor circumstances, like alcoholic parents or drug-addicted parents. So this whole mentality about how everybody that's on welfare, for instance, is somehow nothing but a negative number on the balance sheet is completely and totally false. It just is. And it is because society made an investment in a bunch of us out here. And they made a good investment, a really, really good investment. And those of us, not every kid that grows up on welfare is going to go out and be completely self-sufficient. Sometimes there's generations of families, of kids that are born onto welfare and then have kids that are born onto welfare. They're really fucked up. It's a train wreck. That's their problem, okay? But sooner or later, the system sort of works itself out. And putting them aside, they're a minority. They're a small cross-section of people that we give assistance to as a society. Just like in businesses, we have to start learning there's no such thing as zero tolerance. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in nature, it doesn't work in business, and it will not work in politics and governance. It just won't. So you have to accept that in every system, there's going to be inefficiency. There's going to be static. There's going to be white noise. So instead of trying to build the impossible system that omits that stuff, because you can't do it, and because you can't do it, it's really, really astronomically expensive to try to. It's expensive not only in money, but time and, goodwill towards each other. I mean, look what's happening, right? So we have to stop this, and we have to start looking at things more pragmatically and say, okay, look, there's going to be inefficiencies in the system. However, when you take, like I said, just my lineage alone from my, poor, flawed parents and their children, and look at the amount of return on that investment that society got from us, it's got to be 100 to 1,000 fold. We need to stop looking at each other as liabilities on a balance sheet. No person is a liability on the balance sheet. They just haven't found the right investor yet. If we start looking at each other this way, taking a more pragmatic approach, I think a lot of the other shit would sort itself out. Again, this is why I used to be super, super heavily involved in politics and working for political campaigns and shit like that. And I walked away from all of it because I just can't stomach it anymore. I can't stomach it, and I think a lot of that comes from being an engineer. I can't stomach it because I don't ever feel like they actually address any of the root issue. Like they never really deal with the fact that the problem isn't enough Democrats or enough Republicans or enough Libertarians or enough fucking independents or enough Green Party. That's not the issue. The issue isn't that, folks. The issue is the way we look at each other, the way we respect each other, the way we value each other. That's the issue. If we lived in a society that looked at every human being as an investable asset to the country, instead of everybody in society looking at every citizen as either someone that's a negative asset or is looking to, screw you or take something from you, if we, there's only two ways we can exist here. We got to lean one way or the other. But if we leaned the direction of valuing each other as investable assets, it wouldn't matter what political system you bolted on top of that shit. It doesn't matter. The core fundamental problem isn't that things are breaking down at a political level or a business level. It's that things are breaking down at a human level. Fix that. Fix that in yourself. Fix that in your interpersonal communications every day. That's the issue. Or at least it's my 2 fucking cents on the issue. So there we go, folks. There's my welfare rant. Hope you like it. If you don't, let me know. But thanks for listening, and we'll catch you all next time. Talk to you later. Bye, Sickles.